Okay, great. So the recording started. Um, I'll lower my volume because otherwise I'll be spammed by the pinging. Great. So welcome everyone to the first week of the study group to the Road to Google Cloud Certification. This is the Associate Cloud Developer program, and let's get started in this journey. First, we would like to highlight the fact that this series of events is something different from just taking a book, learn whatever you need to learn to be able to pass the certification. We want to try to get you in a journey to move from textbook knowledge to a real job experience, something that you can leverage not only to pass the certification, but also in your day-to-day job and side project, whatever you want to have fun with. So the first thing is let's get down to business and see what this journey is about. Today we will have a description of this, then we will have a spotlight on what the exam is about. We will see together a little bit of the topics of this certification, and then we will try to give you some first tips and tricks on how to get around your preparation. Later on, you will have our host, David, that will walk us through some sample questions taken from real exams so that we will see what the exam is like, and then we will discuss the next steps together. So let's get started. This program is composed of 10 weeks. 10 weeks, 6 of which we will share together with the appointments every Monday around this time. So what is expected of you is that during the week, you will receive on-demand training on Pluralsight. You should have received an email with a link to allow you to create and access for free your content. And through the week, you will consume this content. You will have questions. You can start typing those questions on Slack to us, and we will try to answer to you as soon as possible, and possibly then showcase some of those questions in these Monday appointments. As this is the first week, we probably don't have anything from the previous ones, so we chose some examples. We will then meet together on Mondays. We will discuss some of the topics that you should have faced in the week, and we will go through questions and solve and discuss together some approach to the problems. The last part of this journey, the weeks 7 and 10, we will not have Monday appointments. You will have to keep reviewing the content, keep using Pluralsight and Quick Labs, which is the platform to have hands-on experience, to keep your experience sharp. We won't have face-to-face appointments, but the Slack channel will be still live, so we will still be able to contact and assist you in this last phase of your journey. Other than this, there is a community forum in which you can post more articulated questions if the Slack channel is not enough for your particular issue. I spoke about Quick Labs. And in particular, Quick Labs offers you something new and fresh that Google is trying to promote, which is these Google Cloud Skill Badges, which are some sort of badges that you can use to show that you've had some hands-on experience with a particular product, with an approach, or with that technology in general. Of course, I wouldn't say that that proves that you're great with one thing in particular, but at least it can prove that you have had the possibility to see it and work through some of those concepts. You might be familiar with this because that was one of the requirements to join this campaign. So you probably already have one. But as you can see from this slide, you have the possibility to have several different ones. Among these and more that are not listed here. Usually they are grouped into different fields, which are infrastructure modernization, hybrid and multi-cloud, application modernization, security, machine learning and AI, and smart analytics. Now, let's get a little bit down to business about the one certification that we are talking about today. which is the Associate Cloud Engineer. We have several different certifications for the Google Cloud Platform. They are mostly divided in associate and professional. The professional ones go a little bit more in detail. As you can see, there are specific ones for DevOps or data, machine learning. The associate can be considered as the starting point, the entry point into the certification world. So usually for the associate will be required a 6 months hands-on experience on GCP for a person to feel prepared to do that. Now, the how you get it oftentimes is the hard bit, because maybe you've never experienced and you don't have a job that allows you to experience with it. And our campaign is part of what tries to solve this problem. We will give you access to quick labs, which will allow you to experiment with GCP without having your own account, without being worried of having to pay a hefty bill after messing up with machine learning or deploying something on Kubernetes. So no worries, we got you. So Associate Cloud Engineer is our path and the starting point for anyone wanting to start into GCP with a certification. You are required 6 months of experience, but maybe if you have had experience with the other cloud providers, it may take you less, because at the end of the day, most of the cloud skills are transferable. Products may be called with different names, but you can leverage a lot of what you've learned in other contexts. An associate cloud engineer is a certification mostly proving that you are able to deploy application, monitor operation application, and managing it into a large or smaller enterprise. Usually, we will see that you can do the same tasks through the UI, through the CLI, so the command line, or through APIs from your favorite languages. Mostly during your exam, you will have to prove that you are able to set up a cloud solution environment. You have to plan beforehand what you're going to do, because you want to know that what you have in mind is possible and roughly estimate how much it's going to cost you. You have to be able to deploy and implement a cloud solution with the different API and products that GCP offers you. And at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you can monitor and make sure that it works, your solution, through the different facets that you have to face, be it the accessibility, the security, and the robustness of your own application. Now, our study plan is divided in 6 weeks. In the first 2 weeks, we will start by learning the fundamentals. And on Pluralsight, those two are called Google Cloud Fundamentals Core Infrastructure for week 1 and Foundation for week 2. They take together roughly 20-something hours, but don't let that stop you. You are able to experiment with quick labs. It's going to be free, so leverage it. Even repeat the same exercise with the different modes that makes it available to you, because you could choose to do that via the UI, or you could do that by CLI. Even if you've already done it, try redoing it. Then the rest of the weeks are going to be about implementing something and deploying something, which will use the different core services of GCP, or you will deploy, for instance, something on App Engine, on Kubernetes Engine, and you will see what it means to scale and automate part of this process. At the end of the journey of week 5 and 6, we will focus strictly on the exam preparation. So we will see more questions. We will probably see some mock-up exam, and the resources that you've been given will help you through this. Now, you may have experience on GCP already, and some of this content might sound redundant to you. Well, reviewing it is always good, but if you don't find any nugget in that, you can still leverage the quick labs to achieve the badges that will help you get through the certification exam. Now, let's go quickly through most of these topics that we have glanced over. So week one is this one, very light foundation. We're talking, it's very colloquial, nothing much new. Hopefully, you know what more or less cloud is about. But week two is going to be about setting up the initial part of your project. So you need to create an account. You need to create a billing configuration, which is important because the cloud doesn't pay for itself. So you have to start seeing what it means managing this, because you don't want to be caught off guard and be left with a hefty bill. Then one big part of your work as a cloud engineer is also planning and estimating the resources that you're going to need. Each resource, of course, has a cost, and GCP offers you some ways to make estimates, and not only on the resources, but also the cost that you are going to incur. One of these is the pricing calculator that you will see how to use in week two. Week three, instead, we're going to get more dirty with the code. So we will see in some exercises, you will be given some programs that already are completed. Some of them you will be able to modify, because it's not just about, okay, take this and deploy it. You have to really understand what it's doing, which service they are invoking, to be able to have a better grasp on the situation. We will see an ample variety of products, which are the most of the compute solution offered by GCP, some of which are Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine, App Engine, Cloud Run, and Cloud Function. So all across the spectrum, from the more hands-on services, the more serverless services, as we see for cloud functions. We will then see how you can leverage Cloud Marketplace to deliver a vertical solution that you don't deploy, that you don't implement on your own. And the Cloud Deployment Manager, maybe you have some experience with Terraform, it's something similar, so that you can automate your deployment solutions. Week four is more about managing these big services, because it's not enough just deploying something, because then you have your one of the big facets of a cloud solution is its scalability and adaptability on the load that you could be faced. And you will see how to manage different resources in the different environment. So how to scale up and down your different resources, how to add more storage if needed, how the networking will work, and very important, how to monitor and log and see what you're doing and what are the effects that you're doing. Because at start, monitoring and logging may seem an afterthought until you find a problem. And then you curse yourself because you didn't find anything, that you didn't think of logging, that one thing that could have made your life much, much easier down the line. In the end, which I would have personally put a little bit earlier in this track, is the access and security. Because as you can see, this may be left for a later stage, but oftentimes this is something that you should consider as one of the very first things you do in one of the cloud projects, which is the AAM, which is Identity and Access Management. Who can use what? So this is more about how to set up and allocate permissions to your people, to the people in your organization, and to the different software components of your application, because you will see that security is not just about people, but also about software. Now, let's get a little bit more close to the exam that many of you may be here for. The exam is spans across 2 hours. Well, if you need less, you can finish earlier, but take all the time you need. It's a multiple choice and multiple select question format. What does it mean? That you've got a question, the question has multiple responses. There isn't just one. There can be one correct, but many questions have more than one correct questions that you have to select. You don't really have a prerequisite. So if you feel confident, if you've gone through the material, if you studied, you can take it. There is nothing else that you need to do other than booking your exam. As we said, this is recommended to have 6 months of experience, but that ultimately depends on how a person feels. Personally, when I had my exam, it was in person. So we went to a certification center. We were given PCs. There were no people next to us, and it was a completely silent room. And that is still possible. Now, I don't know if in your region, the pandemic restrictions still allow for it. But if they do, then you can have your exam in person. Otherwise, they allow you to take a proctored exam in your home, which will mean that you will probably have to download software to monitor your PC that you're not cheating. You may have to show your environment to make sure that you are alone in your room. And you will be monitored during your exam so that they see that you are the one that is answering the questions. The way to approach this is build, follow a study plan. What does it mean? This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So don't expect, okay, you have given me access to all the material. I'll do all of it in one day and I'll be ready to take the exam. Give yourself time to digest the content. So learn, sleep over it, do exercises, revisit it later, take notes on things that are not clear, and then go and explore them. If something is not clear, get back to us. We will discuss them together and we will try to understand these nuances together. Another big thing of this kind of exam is it's not just a notionary exam. So it's not just about what is the command that does this. Often the questions are about business problems, some real life scenario. So they will give you an example of a fictional company with a fictional problem and some requirements of a particular load, an internal structure, and then they will make a question that the response should be relevant to the business problem, which means that there is no absolute correct question. You need to understand what the products are used for, because otherwise you will not be able to apply them in a real environment. And don't worry if this is not clear now, we will see them together. Another big part that we cannot stress enough is that this is not just about passing an exam. It's not enough to memorize everything, because if you want, otherwise we could somehow distill together all the possible questions, give it to you, great, memorize that, but that won't help you in the long run. Now, you have to ask yourself, what is certification for you? Is it something that you use to prove to your potential employer, to showcase that you are a great fit? If you do, if you just memorize the questions, it won't help you after you land the job, maybe, or even during the interview process, because they will be able to tell. If you're doing it for yourself, at the end of the day, you're cheating yourself only. So try to practice to learn, not just to pass. We are a community. We're learning together. Together, we will all be able to improve ourselves. So if you have a doubt, or if you found out something great that you didn't think it was possible, please tell us. Maybe we will spotlight this question or insight, because we are always on the lookout for new stories. Now, I guess that I will leave the stage to David.
Thanks very much, Saverio. Appreciate your words. Just to answer a couple of questions that were in the chat there. The passing rate unofficially is 70%. However, within the Google ACE exam, there are some questions that are not graded. This is to test out if questions work or don't work for assessing a student's their abilities. That's all the information I've been given on it. But just to put that out there, do we give any vouchers for the exam? No, we don't. That's your own business. We'll help you get up to speed, give you the tools, but passing the exam is your own business. So I'm going to, I suppose I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to look at a couple of questions that have come from real exams. I'm going to talk through how I analyzed the questions for my exam. I passed it last year, and how I picked out the right answers, or how I knew some answers weren't the correct ones. We go next slide, Severio. Oh, yeah, let's go again. There we go. Okay, so straight on to the first question. Okay, you are a project owner and you need your coworker to deploy a new version of your application to App Engine. You want to follow Google's recommended practices. Which IAM roles should you grant your coworker? So I suppose the first thing to do here is, before you go looking at your answers, is pick out the key words and that. So deploy. So that's the permission that's needed, and it's an App Engine deploy. All right, and you want to follow Google's recommended practices, which is a small bit, but it's important, as you'll see when we go through the questions. We skip to the next slide, and I won't bore you guys because you got 3 to go to. So I've typed it up here as well, so we can all have a look at it. So the project editor, while this can accomplish the task, if you give someone project editor permissions, they have access to absolutely everything within that project. Now, Google's recommended practices are to limit the permissions to the least possible permission you can give someone to accomplish a task. That would make that answer incorrect because they would have complete access. So the App Engine service admin, all right, they can't deploy new versions. They can only see the settings. App Engine deployer, this is the appropriate task, as it would lead you to believe by the title. And App Engine code viewer, so they can only view the code. That is, they cannot do any deploys. So C is the correct answer. Next slide, Severio. So you have a project using BigQuery. You want to list all BigQuery jobs for that project. You want to set this project as default for the BigQuery command line tool. What should you do? Okay, so again, we'll look at the keywords here. The only keyword in this for the question is set this project as the default. Unfortunately, that's the first answer there, so we don't really get to explore any of the other answers. But before you can use BigQuery, you have to have a project selected. BigQuery is just a command line tool that comes after everything else. And there's 2 commands that aren't a real thing. So this is one area I found when studying for the exam, doing the sample exams, that I struggled with because I didn't have as much experience hands-on as I should have had. I had to go back and redo some of the quick labs, and it's really only getting used to doing things that you recognize. Generate a config URL isn't a real thing, because otherwise you wouldn't know that, and it looks like it could be legit, just looking at it. But the correct answer here is G Cloud config set project. Next slide. Or we can 2 slides, we'll jump across. So your company processes high volumes of IoT data that are timestamped. The total data volume can be several petabytes. The data needs to be written and changed at high speed. You want to use the most performance storage option for your data. Which product should you use? Okay, does any of you guys, have you looking at that question? Do you know what the keywords we'll be looking for here? Big table, yeah. Well, you're just shouting out the answer. Okay. The keywords I was looking at here was several petabytes, the size of the volume of data, and written and changed is a very important keyword at high speed. You want the most performance. These are the keywords we're looking for here. So cloud data store, cloud data store, that's a NoSQL highly available data store, is optimized for smaller sets of data. So that counts that one out straight away. Cloud storage, that's for objects. It's like an S3 bucket. That counts that out. As soon as you get to know these things just by doing your quick labs, you can look at this question and realize there's only 2 real options. That's Cloud Bigtable and BigQuery. Both of those could technically do this job, but the statement where we say in the question where it says written and changed at high speed, it's the changed bit that's going to catch us here. That makes the answer Cloud Bigtable. It's for frequent data ingestion. It can be scalable to hundreds of petabytes and handle millions of operations per second. And that's the important bit, because BigQuery, while it can do the job, is really for OLAP type of queries, and it can scan a large amount of data and is not designed for OLTP type queries for small read writes. It takes about 2 seconds, while Bigtable takes about 9 milliseconds for the same amount of data. And we did say in the question it has to be written and changed at high speed. So that's what makes Cloud Bigtable the correct answer here. And that, I think, is quick fire straight through 3 questions that did come from real exams. You got to know your databases, figure out, make a table up for yourself, whatever way you can figure to remember it for yourself, what each table does, what each database system does, what it's best at, and how it can help you accomplish your job a little bit easier. Again, we're always here on the Slack channel to answer your questions. Please make contact with us. We'll have a chat. We love geeking out about this stuff. I'll pass you back to Severio.
Yes, thank you, David. Just a small addition that personally I found helpful is that, as David was mentioning, there are 2 root commands, which are BigQuery and gcloud. So most of these commands share the same structure. Try to learn also that all these commands have different sub-commands that can be combined to change different parts, because one really good thing of the CLI of gcloud is that they try to be consistent across their products as much as they can. Not all of them are, but most of them. So if you start using them through quick labs, reading the documentation, you will start noticing patterns, and patterns are very, very important for products and commands, because you're not expected probably to know all the single commands. I doubt that any of us could know all the commands that are available to you, but if you get familiar enough, you will be able to start noticing patterns. And then even if you don't know all the commands or that specific command, you can infer it from the other commands that they've used during your study or work experience. So again, next steps, you make use of your Pluralsight subscription. It's great. Attend our weekly study group and ask the questions that you feel like could be helpful to you, or maybe you are also able to sort out that question for your own. But remember, we're a community, so if there is something that is easy for you but you feel like it could be valuable to someone else, ask the question anyway, because that could really help someone. So now we will make available this recording. I'm not sure about which channel we will distribute this. Maybe on the Slack channel. I'll make sure to get back to you through this. And you will be able to see this material together with the rest. Okay, that's Diwali. Okay, and then here, then there are some more resources that you can make use of. In the meantime, do we have any other question? Because I guess that we have still time for some of your doubts. Will the slides be available? Okay, I think we could. Technically, most of the slides are available through the recording that I was confirmed that will be made available to you. But for your convenience, you want the slides instead of hearing us rant around about cloud certification via voice, I guess that we could give it to you. How many quick start pages does one need to have to be ready for the exam? There isn't actually a number. Like, it's not a strict requirement. It's more for your own sake. Some we know people that are actually collectors of them, that they really enjoy getting as many as they can for their own. And I guess they're also displayable on LinkedIn, so that can be part of making your CV more attractive to potential new employers, or as a leverage for your next salary raise. I've already a quick cloud account. Is this something? thing, I guess so. I guess that yes, it should be the same thing. It's same platform. Maybe your Quick Lab account doesn't have free access to all the resources, so you could still leverage this because it's free instead of having you to buy credits. Do you advise the book? I haven't. I don't know if I have that book. No, I don't think I have that book. I will say that check the date of that book and see if that is like a recent version, because otherwise, like I have a book, but even this book, it was great at the time, but many things changed. I think that, for instance, Firebase was in a different version when this came out, so it doesn't, like, it's just about real-time database, so it doesn't really make sense now. But probably that study book will contain most of the material that you will find in the exam. Just make sure to also review what is in Pluralsight and eventually in the Quick Labs, because those are the most updated. So if you are in doubt, make sure to follow the most recent one. Because one thing that is one great and not great thing about the cloud is that it's constantly evolving. So we always have new features, now new functionalities. We try to make things easier, but at the same time, you have to keep studying, because otherwise you'll be left behind. Does the Pluralsight course allows beyond the track we have registered for? Will I? Okay, I can't answer to that because Sadiq, I guess usually the codes they generate for Quick Labs, they change campaign by campaign. But if that goes by experience, most of the times, once you achieve a minimum of what was expected for the track, you should be also able for a month, I think, to access all the other exercises on Pluralsight.
I'll take the next one, if you don't mind, Saverio.
Yeah, absolutely.
After thinking for a bit.
Yeah.
There was one about the validity, which is worth mentioning. We answered that in the chat. So the certificate is valid, last time I checked, for 2 years. And after that, you can retake it with a discount. But yes, the idea is that evolve, as you mentioned, the cloud evolves. So every 2 years, you got to recertify yourself. And the other one was, if I already have done most of the labs, would it be valuable to do it again? I guess that's up to you. It's if you feel very comfortable around the subjects, no worry. If you feel like going over it again will help you, definitely do. Maybe even just take some at random and see how you're doing. This is also something that I think it's worth, since we were talking about Quick Lab, Pluralsight, several books, Jinx. So just to make it clear, taking the exam itself has no requirement whatsoever on any of the courses. So you don't need to complete. Being able to take the exam is not gated by Quick Lab achievement or by Pluralsight completion. This is in general. Those are all, or taking some books. These are all tools that can help you prepare yourself and be confident in passing the exam. But technically, you could just sign up for the exam and do it without studying or without reading anything. Your success and chance won't be, maybe it won't be the best, but yeah, you won't be barred from doing it.
I see a raised hand by Achari Berrada Youssef. I don't know if you have something you wanted to ask us.
Yes, I have a question.
Please go ahead. Don't worry.
Does the exam is online for us, or do we need to go to test center in our local place?
I guess that will depend on your region. So if you follow the Google Cloud page for certification, probably they will redirect you to the testing entity, and then you will see if your entity because it's not Google that certifies you, it's a different company.
Okay.
And it will depend, I guess, nowadays by the state of pandemic in your country.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, indeed. And from what I remember, you should always be able to take it online. But in general, before you pay and everything, you'll be able to see all the location close to you if they're open and their time and their slots. I'll try to find a link for you.
Just while nobody else is speaking there, earlier on we discussed a question of permissions. So one thing I kind of discovered through the study and through the sample questions and the sample exam that if you find you need to give someone permissions and there's an option to add someone to a group instead, that's always the option you should take, is to add people to a group that it gives them permission instead of assigning individual permissions to people. It's for when you have a big massive company and you've got to try and either move people in or out of different areas when they no longer need to have access. It's easier to remove them from a group than it is to find everybody that has that permission and then move them. So just a little quick hint there. If you come up with a question, permissions question, and adding them to a permissions group is one of the possible answers. That's more than likely going to be the answer you should go for. There's also a couple of questions you'll discover even through the sample exam that they have these real technical answers that sound real plausible. But then there's a Google answer. You could just use this Google service to go do this. That's more than likely what the answer is going to be, is that it's this fancy Google solution. So hopefully that cuts down on a little bit of your brain work. And we look forward to seeing you weekly back here and talking to us all week as you study away on the Slack channel.
Oh, this one from Hyder. I'm not sure if anybody can answer that straight away. Should I pick module 6 in the path in Pluralsight as it contain the comprehensive information?
You can do as you wish, my friend.
Yeah.
If you think you can just go for it and take the compressed information and turn that into exam results, that's up to you. But what I would say is take the practice exam first. Every time I took that practice exam, I was like, oh my God, I don't know enough. I've got to go back and study more. Then I had to go find more practice exams because the free one they give you is the same every time. But yeah, take the practice exam, assess where you're at, see where your gaps of knowledge are, and then go back and do the chapters in depth that you're not as comfortable with as you thought you were.
Another one from Vedant. Will you provide discount on certification exam?
We cannot answer to this at this time.
Okay.
No comments. No,
as far as I know, I don't know.
Okay, so stick around with us, and then we will see. We cannot make promises. Stick around with us. I see also a question from Umesh Pawar. Is certification, so does the certification help us getting a cloud job? Well, that is not the be-all and all of getting a job in the cloud industry, but surely can help you. Let me give you an example. You're a student and you've never worked, and you would like to get a job in a company that does cloud development. You're not expected, of course, to have much cloud experience, but the certification could be a great way to prove that you are committed, you're interested, you have some experience that many other students may not have. Or you want to transition job, or you want a way for someone to know that you mean business about the thing that you have written in your curriculum. Because let's remember that once you achieve the certification, you will have a link that you can give to potential employers or share on LinkedIn to prove that this person has achieved this and it's valid until this date. So it's not all there is to get a job, but it's something that for sure will help you. Either get a job or get a raise, which oftentimes are important to people in our field.
There was a great way, Severio, it was explained to me by a good friend of mine who works at Google. He said, if you're walking down the street and you want to bring your partner, your significant other out for a nice meal, you respect this person, you want them to have a nice time. There's a man standing at a door saying, we have the best food ever. But there's a place next to it saying, we have Michelin 5 stars. Here's our proof. Which one are you going to bring her or him? Which one you want to go? Michelin 5 star, right? Because they have the piece of paper. It says it right there. It's proof. This is how it was explained to me.
Well, that's true. So it's a quantifiable way to prove your experience, unless you're in Brick Lane, because in that place everyone has apparently some sort of certification. But luckily, it's not the same for GCP certification. For those of you who are not from London, Brick Lane is a road with many restaurants, and they all claim to have won a prize, but each one has their unique prize. So they try to compete on something that is not quantifiable. But you will be able to do that, to quantify your experience, if you achieve a certification.
Mm-hmm.
To
add some personal experience to that, yeah, I did know about certification.
Okay,
The
you have not
experience
been
in Brick Lane is nice, but
okay.
a bit off topic, at least for me. Yeah, I mean, admittedly, with a certification, I never got a contract next to the certification. It's not a here's your certification and here's your offer of employment. But definitely during various interview and rounds that I've done with different employer, it was always a good topic to talk about, to explain why you're interested in that, how it can be helpful. And personally, again, I'm not affiliated with Google, so it's only personal experience. I found that also studying for it led me at being better at applying the various components of the cloud in the job that I then got. But yeah, it's I mean, it's not a get a job for free. Well, get a job after you get it. But I personally found it as a good help, at least to add maybe that little extra point, or to get a good conversation with the employer. So I'm one of the certified folks.
You also get some free products. So some nice additions.
No, not anymore. Not for this level. It's only for the next level up.
They've removed it.
Yeah, gone.
Okay, never mind. Too late. See, too little, too late. So keep studying. Eventually, you will also get the prizes.
But you might get at the Cloud Next event something.
Yes, if ever we will make it again. Sad.
Otherwise, we'll get some online.
Some other questions. Let's see. From Cameron, is there any resources to get more hands-on experience apart from Quick Labs? Okay, so if you want to get more experience, what I would suggest you after you get some experience with Quick Labs is start a personal project. Google Cloud has a generous free tier, and you get free credits when you sign up for your account. I guess it's for 1 year, $300 or something like that. So as long as you apply the concepts that you have studied in the course, and you have something nice that you want to build, you can do it pretty much for free. Make sure that you estimate your costs so that you don't incur in any particular charge, but you have notifications to alert you that you are going over a certain threshold. And that's actually a great thing, having a portfolio of projects that you can showcase and show that you're really motivated.
There is another link that I'm trying to post again. That is, there it is, getting started. If I remember correctly, there are a couple of quick starts here and there. It's a mix of tutorial or things that you could do. So maybe go through them, and if you see something interesting, it could be something to try and replicate. But again, you'd have to do this on your free tier.
Yeah, just to add to Saverius' example as well. Now they're giving 300 for 90 days.
Oh, okay.
And those 300 will get you so far, like a very, very far. And my advice as well is that don't be afraid to go in and break things on your personal project.
You can always just delete the entire project and restart from scratch. So.
Oh, and there is also something else. Since you have free quick labs, okay, so I shouldn't say this on record, but since I'm being recorded, hopefully nobody watches this recording. So you get quick lab, okay? You're not really forced to follow all the steps. So once you've done all the exercises that you are required to do, you can go off path. So you can experiment with things using a Quick Labs account. You're not going to pay anything. Of course, also Quick Labs accounts have some quotas in place to avoid you to spawn millions of instances that Google is going to pay for you. But you can explore products that are not relevant for that exercise using the same Quick Lab free account you have.
One thing, Saverio, that I experienced, if I remember correctly, I did a few years ago, that sometimes, depending on the tasks you're doing with Quick Labs, what kind of challenge you're doing, there are some services that are completely disallowed.
Okay, yeah.
Not always, but sometimes, like let's say, quick example, you do something on App Engine, you might have BigQuery not available, or things like that. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. So I found it that it's not always be the same.
Okay. So of course, as I read mentioning in the chat, be careful on what you're doing. Don't go too far away from the exercise path. So experiment with commands, but do not try to do crazy things on purpose that you will not do with your own accounts.
Yeah, so I was once blocked because I was trying to do a port scan.
Okay, but so you were a malicious user. You were doing it on purpose.
And it took, I can tell it took 20 seconds for me to get blocked. Literally 20 seconds. So yeah.
Experiment with gcloud config projects, stat projects. Those should be fine. Do not go and try to attack someone else using your Quick Lab account, please. And that can be recorded. Saverio said, do not do anything illegal with your Quick Lab account.
And don't try to hack Google or Quick Labs.
I got blocked during a challenge lab. Okay, if that happened during a challenge lab and you're expected to do that, well, you raise a ticket because there is something wrong there with the platform and that needs to be corrected. Any other question? We're approaching the end of this session, which will mean that soon we will have to move to Slack if we want to continue this. So this is how we can become a cloud GDE. Maybe it's not the whole way of how you become a cloud GDE, but it can be a starting point. Remember that GDE are about technical expertise and community. So it's not just about knowing stuff, but also sharing stuff and helping others. It's a very big part of the job, if you allow me, the fact that you have to be able to help others, because GD is not a title to make yourself just to promote yourself. It's a job showcasing that you're helping others. Don't mind Bitcoins. Okay, right? Okay. How to get G Cloud t-shirt? Goran, they want your T-shirt. So if you are very good at this, Goran will send his own T-shirt to you.
Yes.
So, but there is just one, so you have to be the best one of our course. We will still have to decide the metrics, and we will let you know. But then you can have a signed Goran's T-shirt.
Yes. So, and to add, just follow us, as Severia mentioned, and we'll let you know in the following weeks.
It will be autographed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They want a new one. But sorry, I don't know if you follow soccer, but when you go to a stadium, do you want a new anonymous T-shirt or one that was worn by one of the players? So that's the same thing here.
For a new one, I think if you visit googlemerchandisestore.com, probably will get it from there. But if you want autograph by me, or maybe by the whole team,
Okay.
from you.
So Rossano says Goran. Okay, Cristiano Goronaldo. Okay. Score sheet leaderboard. Okay. No, as far as I know, there isn't a public one. Of course, there are metrics. But I guess that for privacy, we cannot share it. But if you feel like this is something important, please send us a feedback. And in case this campaign will be repeated, we may think of implementing something like this. So that's actually valuable feedback. Please write it to us, and maybe this could turn into something. Okay, so 1 minute left. Any other question? Very quick, something? Thank you for this session. It was wonderful. Thank you to you. Hopefully, you will all stick around and we will be able to do better together. Where can I buy the Google shirt? David posted a website, which is Google Merchandise Store. You can buy it there. Thanks for thank you everyone for being here and spending time with us. All right, have a great evening, morning, night, sleep time, wherever you are, and we will see you on Slack and then next week. Have a good week.
See you all next week.
See you all.
Bye.
Next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.